All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddy Live podcast. Sorry, we are a few minutes late. This is episode number 248, and I have Lisa. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I forgot to ask you. Yes.
It's actually really tricky because it's a Russian name, right?
Oh.
So people tend to pronounce it like really different.
Okay.
Like if you want it like Russian,
Okay.
you would
let's have
pronounce it like with an A, like it's Erschow.
Oh, that sounds very Russian. Okay, okay.
Because in Germany we are not allowed to have like several names. So my dad, like usually the male part will only have a normal name and the female part have an A to like make obvious that it's a female.
Okay, okay.
But in Germany it will be like two different names. So you can call me like Erschow, Erschow, Doki.
Okay, okay. And the Chinese is good. What about the Chinese name?
Oh, it's like I.
Ai.
Yeah, I Lisha.
Lisha. Oh, okay, okay. That's cool. Okay. Well, welcome to the podcast. I heard you did another podcast today. Double two podcasts in one day.
Absolutely.
Nice, nice. That's cool. That's very cool. So I got to start with, obviously, everybody wants to know what brought you to Taiwan. That's obviously question one. What do we got?
Well, so I started studying language and business administration and Chinese in Germany. It was like 2.5 years ago. So basically, when I started, it was clear in the program we have to go to a Chinese-speaking area. No matter if it's like China or Taiwan, obviously there are not many options there.
Sure.
So when I applied for my scholarship, it was that time where China had its borders closed.
Ah, okay.
So I basically had no choice. I mean, I'm not like angry about going to Taiwan or anything. I love Taiwan, but for me it was easier, or it would be easier to go to China because I learned Putonghua, like the simplified Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And here I had like to relearn it. But basically I'm here mainly for studying Chinese. Like this is my main activity.
Okay, so obviously, my next question was going to be why choose Taiwan? You already answered it, right? Putonghua. Okay. So, are there a lot of people in Germany that are interested in learning Chinese Mandarin? I'm asking. I don't know. I've never been. Are there a lot? I have no idea.
Well, depends where. Like usually, I don't think in my region there is a high interest prevailing in learning Chinese.
Okay.
Still, my faculty is like one of the few who are focusing on like economics and Chinese.
Sure.
So there are not many universities who are actually kind of offering this, because you either have economics or you have Chinese language.
Okay.
Usually the mixture is not having that much. So it's really something special, but in my region, I'm from Saxony, so I'm from East Germany. It's close to Czech Republic's border.
Okay.
Not many people are interested in Chinese language there, so I hope it will change.
Okay, yeah. Well, you've got to bring the interest, yeah. German people are, very unique culture, right?
I have to preach it.
You have to preach it, yeah. I have lots of German friends, and I love them because you never have to guess what they're thinking. They're going to be like, boom, you got fat. Boom, you got this. Boom, this sucks. Boom, this. I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
We are straightforward.
That's so funny. I love it. Yes. So how was your experience here compared to what you thought? So you have, you're studying, you're learning Chinese, doing all that stuff in Germany. And then everybody, before they come to Asia, they have an idea of, this is what it's going to be like. Everybody learns Kung Fu or whatever. Who knows, right? That's what I thought. I thought there'd be Kung Fu everywhere 20 years ago. And then I came here and then nobody does Kung Fu. So so how about you? Yeah.
Well, actually, I would say that Taiwan specifically outpassed all my expectations.
Okay.
I was well prepared. Like we had intercultural communication from the first semester on. So we were really, really trimmed to know how people communicate in the Chinese-speaking area. It's not only include like Chinese and Taiwanese people, but also like Japanese, Korean, Singaporean, Hong Kong, like those kind of people who are living in Southeast Asia, basically. So we were well prepared in order like to prevent us from any cultural shocks.
Okay.
So basically I knew what I had to expect, but still I expected the people to be friendly. I came here and they are friendly. So it kind of matched my reality. I mean, I had also some incidents where people are not nice to me, but it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you everywhere meet people who you can't blame it on the culture, right? So it's more like their personal thing. So I was expecting to be an efficient country, a country which is...
Let me just twist this. Keep going.
Yeah,
That's going to be better.
that's okay.
Sorry. Good.
No. Which has like also high technology, considering like TSMC and Acer and Asus. Like you have all these giant tech companies. So I was expecting that everything here is like so much more evolving. Like you have high technology computers, you have cheap technology here.
Yeah.
So I bought my iPad here basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wow, I'm really satisfied with Taiwan. Like I fell in love with this place since day one.
Okay. That's cool. I think the funny thing with the technology, a lot of the stuff is made here, right?
Yeah.
Some of like the good stuff, a lot of the good stuff is made here, and it seems it's funny because when I go back to Canada, when I came here to Taiwan, I thought, okay, I'll be able to get like an Asus laptop really cheap. And it seems like when I go to like a computer market or something, the price is the same or more than like Amazon USA. It's so weird. Like how can it be cheaper? Like I have a lot of friends that buy from Amazon and then they live here, but they will buy the Taiwanese product from Amazon and then it gets shipped here and it's cheaper. And I thought this is so weird. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why it's like that, but that's crazy. So you speak many languages, right? So maybe you can tell me which ones you speak.
Okay, so basically I speak two main languages, which are my native languages or my mother tongues, which is Russian and German. So I grew up bilingual. And I have been studying English since a very young age. So
Okay.
basically we start with English in Germany usually since primary school. And Chinese I started to learn 2.5 years ago, when my university started.
Okay. And when because my family's from Mexico, so when I came here, I spoke English and Spanish, right?
Yeah.
And everybody said, because you speak two languages, Chinese is going to be so easy for you. Right? It wasn't. It's very hard. It's a very difficult language.
No.
So you speaking more languages, when you learn Chinese, did they help you at all?
Well, I think it's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
It depends, I think, what kind of languages you can speak. For example, like, obviously when I speak German, for me it's way more easier to learn English because we have the same alphabet, we have kind of same structure, grammar, words. But Chinese, I think it's just a different universe, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
I often refer the Chinese grammar to Russian one. I don't know why.
Okay.
It's kind of intuitive, I would say. But I often consider it like more being linked to Russian than to German.
Okay.
For example, we have the sh sounds, which are also very prevailing in Russian. So I think that's why the connection comes. So I never had problem with the Chinese R, which is basically like r, ren.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so it helped me a lot, I would say, in terms of that. But I wouldn't say like the grammar is similar or the tones especially. So this is like something which is very unique for this language and only for this language. So I would say I just had to learn this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have... I'm sure we're going to be sharing with a lot of Germans, right? Do you have any tips for the Germans to pick up, as a German, to pick up maybe the Chinese language, Mandarin? Taiwan language.
Well, what helped me the most basically was when I was studying Chinese is first of all to kind of develop an explorative position, like an explorative mindset. So I think like attitude helps a lot, but also like passive learning. For example, I had like this post-its or the sticky notes where I just wrote like Chinese characters for the subject. And for example, you have like 桌子, which is like table or desk. So I put it on the desk. And every time I see the desk, I read it.
桌子. Oh, yeah.
So I
Nice.
try to read it. So I try to integrate it as much as possible in my daily surrounding or my day-to-day life. So it becomes more intuitive. But I think Chinese language just requires a lot of time and effort. It's not a language which, in my opinion, is as easy as Spanish for German speaker because
Okay.
like you have kind
Same
of
alphabet, right?
yeah, it's you have kind of similarities there,
Okay.
and many students they learn like Spanish or French from a very young age as well. So I think like Chinese is a bit more challenging, but nothing to be afraid of.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah. We have a couple comments really quick here from Chris. Of course, that's my girl. I can't read the Chinese name. I'm sorry. Chris. Another one says, "Lies. I'm sorry. We're a few minutes late. Audio is great. Thank you, Chris. Again, she's so pretty. You got a fan. You got a fan." And then Rushi. Oh man, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. Good one, bud. You know Rushi? Yeah. I would say he's probably around your age. He's from India. He used to help me with the podcast a lot. Rushi? No, I don't know. Anyways, it's a small world, but yeah.
Hi, Rushi.
Hi, Rushi. That's awesome, man. So when you learn like different languages, right? Some people would say you have a different personality in each language. So what do you think about that?
Well, because I think you have to differentiate between people who actually learn the language, and people who were born with the language.
Yeah.
So I was raised bilingual. So basically, I grew up with two languages. Russian was the first I know.
Okay.
Because it's a language we speak day to day, like with you maybe in Spanish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You kind of speak with your parents, but you never integrate it really into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just speak it, but you never write essays or anything. So it's like on a really basic level, I would say. Whereas German is like,
You're educated,
yes,
right?
kind
Okay.
of. Yeah, you spend your whole life with this language, and your friends, your surrounding, everything evolves around this language. So basically, I wouldn't say I have different personalities when I speak different languages, even like English or Chinese. My tone of voice it changed.
Yeah.
Like my deepest voice, I think it's in Russian, and my highest in Chinese.
Okay.
And the way I think I put words, like the level of directness changed. Because in Russian we have words or maybe phrases which we consider as normal.
Yeah.
But in other languages could be too direct or too offensive, even in German.
Okay.
Even in the German language. So that's why we have like some words or context we can't explain in other languages.
Okay.
So I would put it like that. It's not the personality that change. It's more like the things you see, the things you perceive. And I would also say the things you can describe. Like Ludwig Wittgenstein said, he was like a really...
Good name. I love it. I love it.
Ludwig Wittgenstein was a German philosopher who made like a lot with languages. And he said the limits of my language are the limits of my world.
Oh.
So
Wow.
it's like a really beautiful quote. I
Wow.
love it so much. Yeah, and I think like this is how languages are built. Every time you learn a new language, you enter a new world. You find maybe words for concepts you never had words for.
Okay.
And then you start perceiving
true.
those concepts.
Yeah.
And then you start like, I don't know, seeing what other people in this language are seeing, what maybe has been hidden to you.
Yeah, I think that's you nailed that, because there's sometimes like I speak English and Spanish, but sometimes when my wife will be asking me something in Chinese or whatever, or somebody be asking me something, and actually when the answer it doesn't really matter, I'm like, it doesn't matter, oh, 差不多, but in English I would never say, oh, about the same. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say, oh, I would say, I don't care. It's not the same thing, right? So, but it was, oh, 差不多, yeah. So, but I never had that before without the Chinese. That's beautiful. I love that. It's funny because, what you were saying about the Spanish and all that. Like I said, I spoke Spanish at home, but I never really, we had a Spanish, speaking community, but that's about it. So, when we go to Mexico, my family in Mexico is very, it's like a pretty, everybody's very direct, and everybody just makes fun of each other, and it's like kind of like a ghetto talk, everybody just makes fun of each other all day, and that's how we speak, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how my Spanish is, right? And so a lot of the times for customers here, we will have diplomats and people from high level positions and stuff like that. So when they come in, I have to keep like this filter on my Spanish. So I'm like, pussy, whatever. You can't call people that. You can call your cousins and, your family, stuff like that. But you can't, some diplomat guy, you can't really say that stuff. So you have to be very, like, when I speak, I have to be very, like, okay, keep this filter on. Because my Spanish personality, it's just like, everybody's just making fun of each other. And so it's pretty funny, yeah. I think it's good, yeah. One of the cool things that I heard from you when I met you the other day was the the STIPT program. I can never remember that. Yeah. So that's a cool thing. I mean, tell me a little bit about that if you can.
So what STIPT means is basically it's Semiconductor Talent Incubation Program in Taiwan.
Okay.
Which meant to be designed due to the fact that we have a lack of talents in the semiconductor industry. So what we face right now is basically TSMC being like a giant producer of chips. We have a really high demand for those chip technologies, whether it's in the automotive industry or even like in some basic day-to-day needs like your coffee machine, right?
Okay.
So what we face right now is that we don't have enough specialists.
Yeah, okay, specialists.
Yeah, or
right.
experts who are in this field. So what TSMC and TU Dresden specifically are doing, since TSMC is expanding to Dresden, they need participants or they need like some experts from Germany who are willingly to join TSMC in Dresden for future endeavors. And so this program is designed for students from Saxony, not only from Dresden, but from the whole Saxony area, so basically where I'm from, like my home region, to go to Taiwan for half year, study at National Taiwan University, and then go for an internship at TSMC. So I think it's the Taichung actually.
Okay.
So they actually know how like the working culture is in Taiwan, how the people are in Taiwan, what to pay attention specifically at TSMC, and transfer all this knowledge and what they have learned in Taiwan in Dresden. I'm not part of the program, but I happen to be very close to the participants and the members due to one GTO event. Like the German office in Taiwan, they organized this annual report, and it was like about how many companies from Germany investing in Taiwan, how many are willingly to build their fabrics here or their company here, how many would like repeat to invest, how many are not satisfied, what's the infrastructure and so forth and so on. And I was really spontaneous there, and they were also spontaneous invited there, so we kind of met there. And since then I connected with them, and Josef Goldberger, he's kind of the supervisor and the organizer of the STIP team.
Nice.
So that's how the contacts and everything bundled. Yeah. So, that's
Good word, bundled. I like that one. I'd never use that. I'm going to use that next time, bundled. I'm learning English words here.
I'm actually not sure.
That's good. That's a good
English
word. I love it. I love it.
It's more like a slang, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. So to learn about the culture, right? Obviously, the working culture in, let's say, Europe and Asia is going to be very different, right? So have you experienced, like, what are some of the differences, in your opinion, of, like, let's say, let's say, like, some of the Scandinavian countries are very famous for, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 day work weeks or something like that. Whereas here, it's like almost the opposite. It used to be 6 day work weeks, and they just changed it to 5 in the last maybe year or two. So tell me some of the differences that you've experienced.
I actually got an internship here for one month at a German company here in Taiwan. So basically my supervisor is also German. I think because it's a German company, I think the working culture is a bit different than traditional Taiwanese company. And especially TSMC, when you have giant companies, they are more demanding, but it's everywhere. It's like in Google, right, and Microsoft. It's very high demanding because it's a big company. Everyone knows his position, and it's you work over like more hours than you should because the pressure is high, your responsibilities high, your tasks are really, really heavy on you.
That's here, right? In Asia. You're
Oh,
saying,
it's
or
everywhere, I think.
Okay.
In a bigger company, no matter where,
Okay.
I think it's everywhere, yeah. What I know, like, I think that German and Taiwanese culture specifically are like similar. I
Okay.
think that's one of the reasons why TSMC chose actually to expand
Really? Okay.
to Dresden. Like, I think so.
Okay, that's cool.
Not
Okay.
my knowledge, but my assumption.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, because I think we are very precisely, especially in the engineering field, we are very precisely in our work. I also work like in a project, it's called Racing Team. I don't know if you ever heard about this. It's basically a bunch of students working on a car and then presenting it at Formula student events.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the cars
Yeah.
like competing against other cars
Oh, wow.
in a race.
That's pretty
and,
cool.
Like you have endurance, skid bed, yeah, like
Wow,
acceleration.
that's pretty cool. Okay.
So I know how students in my university work and students like from other universities who participate in this event all over the globe. Like they work really, really precisely and they work really more than expected. If
Okay.
you want to be the best in your field, you have to give everything to it.
Yeah.
So I think in this case we are similar, but I think German people, not in general, but I think right now there's this tendency or this trend that we feel there's lack of work-life balance,
Okay.
which is here not prevailing. Here still you have to give everything, especially if it's like a big company like TSMC. You feel very honored to be there.
Yeah.
Because you combine it with your duty and
Yeah.
you combine it with your service for this country, the society. In Germany, we strictly, I think, separate my work and my duty from my free time.
Okay.
So it happens a lot that we do a lot, way more team buildings here in Taiwan than in Germany. Like
Okay.
after work, we can go spontaneous for dinner.
Okay.
We can go for cinema, right? And in Germany, I think everything's already planned. Like,
Okay.
oh, I have already plans after work. I don't want like to associate my
Nine.
private
Yes.
kind
yes,
of.
I love
I
it.
don't want to associate my private life with work.
I don't want to hang out with you after work, basically. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, because I think we consider work as something not pleasant.
Okay. Okay.
And work is something which is you have to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of okay. And in my free time, I spend time I love doing.
Sure.
And kind of we also have a lot of duties, like maybe you have some children, maybe you have some hobbies, right? You have other interests, so you're more kind of investing your time in this
Okay.
area.
Okay. And what about you? What are your hobbies and your free time
Wow.
after work? Tell me a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay, like basically I'm not sure like what type I am, if I'm more like the work-life
Okay.
balance type or more like okay.
You're flexible.
Yeah, I hang out with my colleagues every time.
Yeah.
No, but what I love doing right now here in Taiwan, basically I started my own podcast.
Tell me about that. I
Yeah,
love that.
like nothing is online yet, so I haven't created any content online. What I'm doing right now is I'm recording as much as I can. It's more about interesting people in my environment.
Yeah.
The idea how I got to is basically because I noticed, okay, I have a lot of interesting people in my environment.
Sure.
And people I'm really fascinated at. Like I really like them. They are so deep in their conversations and in their way of thinking, and I felt like, wow, I have so interesting conversation with them. I can bring it online.
Nice.
And yeah, I start meeting more and more interesting people, like from diverse fields, like data analysts and consultancy, to the organizer of the STIPT program, to some journalists, people who just randomly started their nightlife club business here in Taiwan after being 1 year only here. Like, you have people from different backgrounds
Yeah.
and different experiences, and you just combine them in one podcast and you talk to them and you just ask questions. Oh, I do, like basically like you
This
do.
is exactly what I do. Yeah, I
like
love it. I love
meet
it. Yeah.
people and I'm just asking them questions, what I'm interested in. And what I'm trying to do is to building an audience who is just like me, curious, not knowing everything, but that's okay. You can always ask, right?
Yeah.
So this is something I noticed right now here in Taiwan, and I want to make it like really big. Like
Nice.
I wanted start with Taiwan. Later, I will go for an internship in Singapore. So I'm planning to do it in Singapore and then in Germany. So it's like kind of travel around, meet people, and just let them tell your story.
I think that's great. That's actually really what with the restaurant here. I've been here for a really long time, and I think sometimes you come in and you meet students doing cool things, and then you'll meet like professional athletes, and then you meet like the CEOs of like really big companies, and then you meet like these people that are just like millionaire guys who coming in, they're just kind of sitting in the corner eating their tacos, and then I'm like, I think I heard you like on the Microsoft podcast and Apple, like crazy things like that. And they're just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy, and they're just kind of like just chilling. But yeah, with the restaurant, you get to meet all these different kind of people, and so I always think, man, we have these conversations and so many good ones have gone, and I thought, you know what, I should have just had some microphones, set them up, and then we'd just talk.
Yes.
And then if
definitely
good stuff comes out, and good stuff comes out, right? I love that. I love it. So has there been any like difficulty for you sort of coming to Taiwan and adapting to Taiwan? I know it's a very great place. I love it. It's very friendly. Of course, nowhere is perfect. So was there any kind of difficulties for you coming here and adapting to Taiwan?
Well, yes, I had a lot of issues regarding communication styles.
Okay.
Because of the fact that I'm both Russian and German, like I double communicate directly. And sometimes, like even lately, like I asked my friend, right? So I had like this kind of issue with a friend of mine who doesn't want to be friends with me anymore.
I love it. I love it. You were mean. No, I'm just German.
Straightforward.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
No, but I will get back to this story now, but I just wanted to mention that I reflected on it with my friend, like my German friend, and I asked her about it, like, what do you think, like, how this ended up, the situation, like, why, what was the reason? And she said, I think, like, it's a lot of mixture there, but, you're sometimes really straightforward, like, really straightforward.
Extreme German, extreme Russian German.
And I think, like, people can perceive it as not always the right way if they don't know you well enough.
Yeah, that's funny.
And but I never thought about it. I'm like, I'm a big fan of telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of like not lying into your face saying, oh yeah, everything is good. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, let's do like this.
Yeah.
And I think like I'm sometimes too pushy on that, so people are offended or maybe disappointed, but I'm like, but I'm just trying to like solve the problem. Yeah, so basically what happened.
Very logical German, like we fix problem. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And like this Russian means straightforward.
Yes. Do it. This is shit. Change it. I love it. Yeah. I have a lot of German friends.
How can you love it? Like when people are telling you like, it sucks.
Because I'm always entertained. Like I've been doing this restaurant business for like, I don't know, half my life now, right? And I would prefer someone to just say, "Oh, I don't like this." Like I said, I have quite a few German friends, and some of them will just be like, "No, I don't like your food." And I'm like, okay, no problem. Because then, or else you see them outside and be like, hey, you should come by sometime. No, I'm never going to invite you because you don't like it. That's okay. No problem. You don't have to come. Like, no, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. No problem.
Actually,
it's funny. It's okay. Yeah.
When I don't like food here, like I really have to find excuses,
I can imagine.
Like I have to say, oh sorry, I don't feel well, like my belly hurts. I have like to all the time come up with something new. I have like to say I love Taiwanese food. There's like a really rare case where particular things in it I don't like.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not about the ability of the person who cooks. It's just like I don't like some ingredients there, right? So and I'm like, I'm already full, right?
I would love to be there when you're like trying to be like, trying to hold it in and say.
Every time I speak a language, I switch masks. So kind of.
The personality mask.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like you put another mask when speaking to prime ministers or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, in Germany or Russia, when we say I don't like the food, nobody will get offended. I would say the most people will get you right, especially if you're close friends, right? So they would say, yeah, okay, you don't like the food, it's so fine.
It's
yeah,
okay.
it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
but
it's
here
not
you have-
personal. It's just
yeah,
you don't like it.
yeah. But here you have to pay attention that it didn't actually convert to something what has to do with the person or the ability of the person.
People will say, "Oh, you think I'm a bad chef? You think I'm a bad business owner
Might
or
be.
whatever?" Right?
Yeah, you
And
might hurt them.
Yeah. So I think so. I've never been to Germany, but is it just everybody's just like super direct? Because all the Germans that I know are very, very direct. But I've never been to actual Germany, so
Well-
it's just very like, no, this is good, this is shit. Yes, no.
I think
how is it?
I think you can't like.
I know you cannot put everyone into one bubble.
Yes, I would say like there is some cultural tendency in the language. Yes, you can say we communicate more direct than, for example, in Japan,
Oh yeah.
where everyone is really also cared about the face, like the concept of lima, right?
Yeah.
Wearing your kind of being aware of your face and not hurting anyone, not hurting anyone's feelings. I think it depends also where you are in Germany.
Okay.
There's a difference also between bigger cities, smaller cities. There's difference between the states of Germany, right? Like the different regions. And there's also difference between ages and generations. So I think you can't really put it,
That's true.
every German is like, straightforward and direct. Because
it.
sometimes even not that straightforward in a German environment.
Okay.
Sometimes there are like, I don't know, different settings, different situations, and you adapt your language on it, I would say.
Okay. That's awesome. I have a bunch of questions for you, but let me pull up some pictures.
Yeah,
okay?
please.
Yeah, so we'll pull up some pictures here. So number one, tell me what's happening here.
All right, so basically I was
There's a cool one.
invited to Radio Taiwan International, and it happened after I spoke to the STIPT students or participants about intercultural communication. So it was also at the location of Radio Taiwan International.
Okay.
And I went there and I asked one of the German department, her name is Shang Ning, I asked her actually if there's a possibility that I could, expand it a bit on like a wider audience. And they have like different departments. They have like Russian, Spanish, English department.
I did the Spanish one years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What
Yeah,
have
a
you
long
spoken
time ago.
about?
Look at the restaurant because they asked me stuff because we were one of the first Mexican restaurants opened by like a Mexican, fake Mexican. No, so obviously my family's Mexican, so
Yes.
yeah, we're Mexican heritage, first one in Taiwan. So I got invited a long time ago, but I don't want to cut you off. So keep going.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, they invite interesting people to speak about topics like you do, right? So their life in Taiwan, travel in Taiwan, and I spoke about like intercultural communication. By the way, it will be also online tomorrow.
Oh,
I will
nice.
say it. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
It's unfortunately only in German, like it's for the German audience. I made another in Russian as well, also the same topic, intercultural communication, kind of language identity. So I talked roughly what I'm talking to you now, right? How we perceive languages here and there from my perception. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Next picture. That's a cool one.
That's my first modeling job actually
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
So here's, I think for many Eurasian or Caucasian people, it's like really
Common.
common
Easy,
or
okay.
yeah,
You
not
don't wanna
that
say-
challenging.
you don't wanna say,
No,
okay,
it's not that challenging to get a model job. It was actually for a big tech company here in
Okay.
Taiwan.
Okay.
And they make an ad, like they made several ads for like the Asian audience, for the European audience, North American audience, South American, and so far and so on. So I was invited, or basically I made the casting for the
Okay.
North American and European audience, and I got in. So yeah, it was quite fun. It was like 2 days where we had the shooting. And it's gonna be a commercial. They're right now editing it, so
Nice.
I'm not sure when it will be out. But
That's cool.
when the new product of this company will get out, the commercial will be out. So maybe you might see me somewhere
All right.
until
We'll see you on TV. Actually, like you were saying, I also most of the people that I know had the chance to do modeling and stuff.
Yeah.
I've done like a Heineken commercial. I've done a whole bunch of stuff, and I even did a Volkswagen commercial.
Wow.
Right? And it's so funny because I was just like not the main guy, but it was just doing the commercial. And I don't know if you see the Taiwanese Volkswagen commercials, right? It will just say Volkswagen das Auto, right? And then that was on the wall somewhere, and then I just said it in that voice, right? Because I was just kind of in my own world, and everybody's like, "Oh, you speak German?" And I'm like, "No, I don't speak German." I'm like, "I wasn't speaking German." It was so funny, and the funniest thing about that was, I've signed the paper to be in there, and like a year or 2 years later, I think it was like Toyota or something. Somebody had my picture and like, "Oh, we want this guy to do the commercial," and I went to do it, and then they found out that I signed this paper with Volkswagen, and I couldn't do it because I was like, "Whoa!" And it was not big money. It was like 5,000 or something small, and I thought, "Whoa!" So I signed my likeness over to Volkswagen. It's kind of hilarious. Yeah, where's my Volkswagen? Yeah, so funny. Yes. Here's another picture.
Oh yeah, that's me podcasting.
I love it.
It was my first podcast. I had this one with a good friend of mine. He's a consultant in Singapore in the field of data analytics.
Okay.
And he's one of the acers, like of the Alteryx aces, which is like super, super rare.
Okay.
I don't want to like speak some wrong numbers, but it's like I think 64 people in the whole world who have this kind of status. Yeah, so I'm really proud of him. Yeah, and he was like the first one who actually helped me. Setting up the podcast. He was my first guest, so we talked about his life, his way to getting there, or what he needs to, like, what someone who is actually approaching this kind of job or position.
That's great.
Yeah, what you need to actually know about this. So yeah, we did this.
That's cool. That's cool because I think one of the cool things about the podcast is sometimes you'll know people, but sometimes you'll meet people what you think would be like a really good one, and you feel maybe this is out of reach, but then you ask, and they're like, "Oh, I would love to do it," and they're just like so honored that you were like, "Hey, let's do a podcast."
Yes, absolutely.
And you're kind of like, "Oh, I didn't think that you would do it." That's cool.
Yes, it is. It is. Like a lot of people I met, also like journalists or like people who are like having big names.
Yeah.
They actually were very honored to do it. I'm like, yo, I'm just a little girl. Like, I'm 21, coming here in Taiwan. I'm not even a year here, right? Like, I'm not even posting anything. I don't even have any followers or like, I have nothing to prove that my content is good, right? And there are people are so delighted to actually do that. If someone wants like to share like their attention to them.
Yeah.
I think they just love telling stories and like making it also really known in some way. So yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it's cool because people they're honored. They're like, you want me to be on your show, and sometimes there'll be somebody who I still think is kind of out of reach, and then I'll be talking to somebody else, and they're just like, hey, you've had like everybody else on. When do I get to go on your podcast? And I'm like, you want to actually do it? And they're just like, yeah, of course. Like, whoa, okay, let's do it. Yeah,
sometimes
next week.
You need to ask.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta ask, right? Exactly. Next picture.
Oh yeah, that's my grandma visiting me in Taiwan.
Oh wow! Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my grandma, she's 72, right? So she was working her whole life as a teacher, and she's still working as a German teacher, like teaching many immigrants and people who come to Germany, who want like to build a life in Germany.
Nice.
And yeah, she also like multilingual, like she speaks Russian, English, and German.
Nice.
She was like really paradox kind of a thing, but I grew up in a Russian environment in Germany, but she grew up actually in a German village in Russia. So we kind of twisted.
That's a good episode right there when you go back. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And she has visited more than 20 countries in her life.
Nice.
Yeah, and including like Mongolia and like so many different places like Iceland and in China, yeah. And so she was last December here.
That's cool. What did she think?
Oh, she loved Taiwan.
Yeah.
She loved this place particularly. Yeah, she was. I think she made many kind of. she draw many similarities to Russia.
Okay.
Which was really surprisingly to me because she was like, oh yeah, they also have dumplings. We also have dumplings. Oh yeah, this kind of doll we also have, right? So she was like, I think she was also not that surprised. She was really, really amazed by Taiwan, but it also was something familiar for her.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's funny. You know, when my daughter was born, my mom came for a couple months to help us for a bit. And she also, my mom's from Mexico, right? And so she also loved it. You know, when she came here, when I came here, I also figured it's a lot of similarities to Mexico. And when my mom came, she's like, we went to the night markets. She's, you know, drinking sugarcane juice and just picking out everything. She loved it. She loved the night market vibe because Canada doesn't have that. Yeah. And Mexico has it, of course, and Taiwan has it. So when she came back here, she loved it. She thought, oh, okay, now I realize why you love it here so much. I said, yeah, it's a great place. So then she's like, okay, I feel better now. Because she's like, what is Taiwan, you know? And then when she came here, she thought, good place. Love it. Yeah. So my mom loves it. Still working on getting my dad out here. Everybody else has come, not my dad. He's like, I'll come eventually.
Yeah, right. That was actually the STIPT, one of the events of the STIPT participants. We were talking about Chinese language. Like there was someone who was presenting like specifically how to learn the Chinese language, but I was more focusing on intercultural communication.
Gotcha.
So basically, some phrases you need to know. For example, there are a phrase in Chinese which is not existing in any other language I know.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, like it's like the one of the picture, 人外有人，天外有天.
Okay.
So basically, if you translate it word to word, it means besides a human is a human and besides a sky is a sky. So no matter how good you think you are, there's always someone else when entering new spheres. That's how I translated it. Like, but it's similar to the meaning, like similar
keeps you humble, right? It's like stuff, you know, there's always someone better, basically.
Yes, like basically because when you enter like a new space, you start from scratch, right? So I started podcasting. I'm not experienced in podcasting or anything else, right? So I need to start from zero.
Love it. It's
Whereas, other people, they are like, I don't know, having podcast experience for years and decades, and they're doing it for their whole lifetime. And still, even besides them, there's always someone better, right?
Always.
There's always a bigger fish.
Always.
Yeah, so this is, I think, a good metaphor and also links back to what I said previous, right? This concept can only be clear to you if you actually have language for that, if you have actually a word for that. Or for example, let's take in Russian, we have in Russian a word which actually describes kind of the relationship between a man and a woman when dating.
Okay.
So it's the word called ухаживать. Yeah, and I also couldn't find it, for example, in German. And I think like in Russia, women expect a man to pay for them.
Okay.
Like it's rarely that women actually split the bill or anything else. So in this word is actually or implies that the man who likes the woman or who would love to kind of be with that woman.
Like courting the woman.
He should. He should basically try to impress her.
Sure.
Like buying flowers, picking her up, like I don't know, opening doors, taking care for her. And that's why I think that's one of the reasons why I think women value that so much in Russia.
Okay.
In comparison to maybe women in Germany, where it's not playing a big role for some women because maybe we don't have a word what describes this concept. So basically that's what I also was talking about in this, like how language might change our perception and how we communicate here and there.
That's cool. I think in English there's a kind of the word chivalry. It's like, you know, just to be romantic and always kind of open doors and try to, you know, similar. I don't know if it's the same word, but it's kind of similar, which is cool. In Mexico, actually, like to this day, people will Mexico is a Latin country, so it's a very like a lovey-dovey sort of country, right? So people will still like serenade people. Like a guy will still go to like the window and sing with a guitar, even if he's shit. He will still do it.
Wow.
And the girl will just it's really like it's one of the cool things about Mexico. You go there and it's just very like it's kind of like lost in time in like this really cool era. I love it. I love
It's
when I
very
go
dedicated,
back. It's
right?
really cool. It's very romantic, which is Canada's not very romantic. I would imagine. I'm not sure if Germany would be that romantic, but like I would maybe Italy is probably maybe the similar thing, you know. But Mexico is very like it's kind of crazy, you know. The serenadas, they say they just go and they serenade a girl. And it's just like you see guys singing to girls all the time. It's like, wow. And coming from Canada to visit, you're like, whoa. You would never see a guy do that because all his friends will make fun of him. Right?
Yeah,
So, but in Mexico, it's very cool. I love that. That's a cool thing. So here's a kind of an
Yeah.
go
So
for it.
here I'm again with my grandma at Ximen, at this famous Rainbow Street.
Yeah, of course, Ximending, right?
Yeah, Ximending, that's true. Yeah, so we're hanging out there.
Ximending. That's a cool spot, Ximending. Yeah.
I love it.
Looks like
yeah.
Japan a bit, right?
It
Yeah.
is. It is kind of a really cultural
Yeah.
cultural center of many fusions. Like you have some Korean details there. You have, of course, the Japanese architecture.
Yeah.
You have kind of, I think, some really unique atmosphere there. I can't
Yeah.
describe it.
It's cool.
It's kind of touristic, but also really authentic at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it's really one of my favorite places.
It's a really cool spot, and the funny thing is, we've been to Japan, and we have some friends that used to live here, and then they moved to Japan. And my wife, one of her good friends from college, they spent like 6 months in the States, is from Japan. So we went to visit her, and she was like, "I'm gonna take you to this place," And she took us to, I can't remember the name of the place, and she took us to this place, and she's like, "Oh, it's really like the most, you know, Japanese authentic thing." And I'm like, "Oh, it just looks exactly like Ximending." Like it looks exactly like Ximending.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well," I'm like, "It's exactly the same." It's cool, but I'm like, "Oh, it looks exactly the same." So funny. Yeah.
It's like, for example, Tianmu, like the area
Yeah.
we are in, it's like more Korean stylish.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of foreigners live here, like
lot, yeah.
experts. And I think it also has something of this cultural fusion you
Yeah.
can't find in many places here.
So Tianmu has a American school, has a European school, has a Japanese school. So these three schools bring a lot of uniqueness to this area. You'll get a lot of Germans, you get a lot of Europeans, a lot of Americans, a lot of Japanese, Korean. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool, like an international vibe. So it's a good spot. Yeah. We got another comment. I love Taiwan when I was there in February. Chris again. All right. All right. Your number one fan. All right.
Well, he has
Yeah,
to.
he has to be. He has to be.
Yeah,
Come
like
on.
Chris was also visiting me in
Yeah, that's
February
cool.
on my birthday. He stayed only like for a couple of days, but
Okay.
still. I
That's
think,
cool, though.
Yeah, he was still impressed. Like, yeah,
That's
I
a good
think so.
spot, right? Yeah.
It is.
Shiman, 2 more pictures.
Oh yeah.
You gotta have the classic pictures like this in Taiwan. You
Oh,
tell me about it.
actually,
You
it's
know?
hard for a foreigner
Okay.
to get a picture with only Taiwanese. I think.
Okay.
Like I think this was like the moment where I felt integrated the most into the
Okay.
society
Okay.
because I was invited from one of my friends. We just met through LinkedIn, and he proposed kind of a language exchange. So we met
LinkedIn.
up. And then he was inviting me like a couple of weeks later to his birthday. Like I was inviting him first
Yeah.
to my birthday, so we hang out there. That's in front the girl in the black. That's his girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah. So and later then he invited me. So what happened is basically we went to this Korean barbecue place where you have to stand, so you don't have any seated places. Like you stand and you roast your barbecue. It was
Nice.
so fun. There was like loud music, usually K-pop, but this evening it was like really old school Taiwanese music.
That's
you know,
cool.
the song Santian Sanya?
Okay, I think so.
Many
so, yeah,
people will
yeah.
know
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
right? So it's like so typical the to-go like song
Okay,
for
okay,
like
okay,
I don't
okay.
know, Taiwanese people who are like a bit older, I would say. So yeah, and I was the only foreigner there. Like,
That's cool.
there were nobody who was, I don't know, from outside of Taiwan, I would
Okay.
suggest. So a lot of Taiwanese people there. So I went there and we had this music on, we had the song on. It was so nice. And at some point everyone like got a bit drunk, and so we started dancing there and like singing there around. And that was the moment I felt integrated the most, because we only spoke Chinese.
Nice.
And yeah, I felt like among those bunch of people who are from this culture, from this region, and I'm here, and I'm a foreign girl, but they are so kind of integrating me in
Yeah.
their culture and in their songs and in the food they like. And this was the moment where I was like, yes, I made Taiwanese friends, and I get along with the people. I understand them finally, because the thing with Chinese language is that you feel stuck in some point.
Sure.
And then you go, like, maybe you move one step forward and then you're stuck again.
Yeah.
But here it was like so intuitive, I don't know. So I felt really, really blessed.
Nice. Beautiful. And I think the last picture is the same event, right?
Yes, that's actually the friend,
Yeah,
like, who's
okay.
showing the piece, who's like in the middle.
Okay.
So Ethan.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like someone could, integrate into, like you were saying, you felt
Yeah.
integrated into Taiwan for the first time, and what kind of advice would you give someone
Well,
who wants to do something?
I think
like that?
the only thing you can really do about this is to wait. Like, you need time for this. You can't integrate in just, I think, a couple of months. That's what, like, from my observation, I can see that many people who are foreigners, they struggle to integrate themselves into
Yeah.
the society. That's why I think they prefer to hang more around with foreigners, because you're in the same base, right? So we are one group. You're a foreigner, I'm a foreigner. Well,
Yeah.
fine. So it's kind of we and they, right?
Yeah.
And here, I think language plays also a big role. Like,
Huge.
you have to speak the language. You really have to find friends, and it's so hard to find here friends, because also, like, speaking of cultures, many Taiwanese people, I think they are really shy also.
Very shy. Yeah.
And it's really hard to make friends with them. Like, you always have to reach out. And there are, of course, also some people who define themselves through friends. Like, when they say, oh yeah, like, I have a lot of foreign friends, like, I feel cool. So you need to pay attention also to that.
Yeah.
There are some people outside who are actually defining themselves through other people. So they maybe want you to be friends just for their own benefit.
Because you check the box for okay,
kind
I could
of.
be your friend.
Yeah, kind of. It's like, oh yeah, she's foreigner, all right. Like, I feel cool now.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happens. It happens quite sometimes, not
Yeah.
many times, but there
Yeah.
are accidents like this. I think, like, what helped me the most is, I think if I would come here for only a half year, I wouldn't be able to feel integrated, or at least to be in the near or the proximity of feeling integrated. I think it really takes time. It takes some good friends.
Sure.
And yeah, you have always to find and search for them. But I think what I also noticed is that Taiwanese people who are actually kind of westernized a bit, like who went abroad for studying,
Yeah.
or who have a lot to do with foreigners, they kind of understand the way of thinking
Yeah.
of Western people, or
Yeah.
people in general who are, like, not from this country. And it's easier to also bundle with
Yeah.
them or connect with them, instead of people who maybe never left Taiwan.
Yeah. Do you have any tips? Like, what would be the difference? Say you want to. This is just a random question. Say you want to make some friends in Germany versus you want to make some friends in Taiwan. What's the kind of two different
I think
ways?
it's hard in both cultures, to
Okay.
be honest.
Yeah, I would
Like,
imagine. Yeah.
I know Taiwanese people and people from Asia in general who came for studying to
Yeah.
my university,
Yeah.
and they had a really hard time to make friends.
Yeah.
It also depends where you are, right? I think, like, if you're in a small town like mine in Saxony, it's more harder than maybe in Berlin or Munich,
Okay.
where are a lot of foreigners.
Okay.
So in my hometown, there are more Germans than foreigners.
Okay.
I would say. So I think it's hard in that term.
Okay.
Yeah, what I would say is when you're in Germany, try to reach more out to people. Usually German people, or at least from my perception, I can speak for myself, but I'm really busy in Germany.
Okay.
And I'm also very individualistic in Germany. It's like how our culture and society is.
Yeah.
But if someone reach out, I'm really happy to spend time with this person. So, well, my suggestion for people who come to Germany is just try to reach out, try to ask them out. I mean, the worst thing they can say is no.
It's no.
Nein.
Yeah. Nein. Yeah. You gotta have it.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
it's the worst thing. And maybe when they even deny your offer, it's not because of you or like, I don't know, because they don't like you, but
Yeah.
because of their own life and circumstances.
Busy.
Yeah, being busy or maybe being tired today.
Yeah.
Maybe having other priorities right now and other focus, and that's totally fine. If they deny you 3 times, okay, fine, then just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to hang out with you, but there are a bunch of other people who can you just ask, or like attending clubs. I feel like in both cultures, even in Taiwan and in Germany, like attending clubs and going to kind of extracurricular activities.
Those are people that want to meet friends, right?
Yes, right. Or we have also like language corners or language clubs or anything like this. There, people are usually open-minded, and the same with bars. Like bars is like a really good option, at least in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Like Revolver, for example.
Everybody loves Revolver.
Yeah.
There's 2 guys that were sitting at the bar were just talking about Revolver like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, because Revolver is the place to go. Like you have the perfect blend of Taiwanese and foreigners. So, yeah, it's like a good place. I mean, it's chill. It's not like a club. The music is not loud. You just sit
just
there.
chatting.
Yeah, just chat.
Beautiful. I think time flies, man. We're on like almost 1 hour.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? When you go live, it's just, you just keep going. So tell me about, before we call it, plans. You're going to go to Singapore next. So what's your plan now? Taiwan back to Germany and then Singapore?
No.
Or direct to Singapore?
Yeah, like...
So tell me about that a little bit.
So I have approximately 1 month left here in Taiwan. Yeah. So I'm kind of trying to squeeze out the juice of it, make the best out of it in my last month. I kind of regret that I didn't travel that much or hadn't the time to travel that much, but I'm trying to catch up now. So yeah, those who are come here for study, my go-to advice is still leave some time for fun. Yeah, so next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attend or undergo an internship in the field of business analytics in the Changi airport in Singapore.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because there's a company which makes like AI solutions for the airport, and they launched a product or integrate it to the system of Changi. So I'm very honored to participate there, to give my insights. Yeah, it's nice. It's like 3 months only, but still enough time to learn about how this field works, how my job works, because like business analytics in general is a really high demanding job, I think. It will be great.
Nice. So Singapore, then back to Germany.
Yeah, finally.
Okay. And how do you feel that you've changed sort of as a person coming from, you're the German girl, then you spend time here, and then, you haven't done Singapore, but then going back.
Yeah.
Even if you went now, have you feel that you've changed?
Wow, a lot. I think a lot of subconsciously. I feel I gained a better awareness of different cultures. I gained a better understanding of different communication styles. Because, you usually learn it, but studying itself is not efficient, in my opinion. So you have really to live it.
Agree.
And you have to experience it. So I got the chance to experience it right now. I'm very happy about that. And I think I really change in terms of taking more risks.
Okay.
Like,
love it.
I just came here, even when I was traveling to China, to mainland China actually.
Okay.
And so I went there, no cash, no VPN, nothing. Like
Okay.
it was because I was in Hong Kong the day before. So there was from the German chamber and the German office here in Hong Kong, there was an event. And so I went there. Then we went with a bus to Shenzhen because it was like connected event
Okay.
between like the greater area of China and Hong Kong.
Okay.
And so I went there and I was like, oh, they don't accept my visa. Oh, I forgot. They blocked like every social media. I was like texting my mom. I was like, yeah, maybe in the next 5 days, I'm like unreachable.
Yeah.
I'm in China. And she didn't know that I'm in China. She was like, how you are in China?
Yeah.
How you are not reachable? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, and then I went there, but luckily I met people who gave me cash, so I transferred money to them, and some people who showed me like a VPN. And then I had friends there. I was visiting friends in Guangzhou, so luckily they paid everything for me, so I transferred the money.
Okay.
It was all fine, but yeah, like I learned to take risks. Like I just went to a country and boom, like totally unprepared.
Okay.
And actually was also visiting Singapore for 4 days, and I didn't buy VLAN or Wi-Fi in any of those countries. So it was
Okay.
like with maps and asking, and it's like either right or left, either I will see something or not, like,
Okay.
And even starting here a podcast, like I invest so much money in the studio and so much time and dedication inviting guests and trying to figure out the questions I want to ask,
Yeah.
the topics I want to cover. Like I'm investing a lot in this project, and I don't know what the outcome it is, but yeah, I like it, so I'm investing it. So I think in terms of taking risks, I definitely advanced.
Okay. Well, that's usually the last thing. I mean, like any tips that you would have for somebody that wants to be, and I think you answered it, but any tips that you want to for anybody that wants to, step up and maybe take risks like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes doing an exchange year or year abroad, or even not a year, but maybe you go alone by yourself a month somewhere in an unknown place. Maybe, like ideally, it's a total different culture and language, and you try to get along. Helps a lot.
Okay.
Like, it helped me a lot. I think it helps everyone. I can really, really suggest people just maybe to move to another place for 1 month. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be like somewhere far away. But just trying to deal with a different culture and language setting for 1 month and getting along, I think it's perfect training for everything.
Okay, awesome. Beautiful. That was an awesome one. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I think we're just over an hour now, which is perfect.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming. Man, you've been here for like 7 months or so.
Yeah, approximately.
And I think that you've gone through a lot because usually people, when they come here for the first 1 or 2 years, it's still kind of like a little quiet. They just stay to themselves. And then they feel like, okay, well, I want to stay. In my case, I'm like, I want to stay here. So I make sure I got to learn the language. I make sure I got to be outgoing, extroverted, right? But I think you in 7 months have done amazing.
Yeah, I
So
think
congrats.
it depends, like, with what motivation you
Yeah.
come here. Because, like, of course, if I
Yeah.
would go to a country I don't know the language or anything yet, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I'm just trying to adapt first or
Okay.
trying to observe first. But if I'm already acquainted with the language and the culture, and I come here with a specific goal of learning the language, and I'm like, okay, how I can learn the language the best? Okay, I connect with people, I go to activities. You have kind of a different, I think, motivation and the goal setting, and also the time. Like you came here for a very long time.
Long
period.
time, yeah.
I have only like 9 months.
Okay.
So
Yeah, gotcha. 9 months. and you've done a lot. Wow, unbelievable. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming. I appreciate it. Thank you guys
you.
for watching. Thanks for all the comments. We'll
Thank
make a bunch of
you.
clips, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.